Alright guys, so we're going to install the SW MOTECH center stand on my 2008 KLR 650. And I saw a few videos but nothing in depth, so here's what I wanted to go over. You're going to need a 12mm socket, an extension, and a 3/4 inch ratchet, a 13mm socket, and a handy tool that I attached to my drill, which gives me a 3/8 inch adapter for sockets, which makes the whole process go well, and a little bit of thread locker because it just makes me feel that much more comfortable. So let's jump in and get this installed. So the first step is to remove these two 12mm bolts from foot pegs on both sides of the KLR, so that these mounting brackets will fit right here. So I'll go ahead and remove those, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so the next step is to assemble the left side, or the kickstand side, mounting bracket hardware to prepare this for the center stand. And what we're going to do is we're going to use what the book says as the number 3 bolt. It is the non-shouldered bolt here. And we've just set it up with a standard washer and then the lock washer. And then I'm going to go ahead and use some thread locker on these bolts to make sure that it's proper. So here I have it loosely shown with the mounting bracket in place and the new non-shouldered bolts with thread locker and the locking washers installed. So we'll go ahead and torque those down to 17 foot-pounds on these bolts, and we'll move on to the right side. One thing to note is we're going to want to apply some all-purpose grease to this opening right here before we move on to the next step. We just want to grease that so that everything moves nice and smooth. So just got a little bit of all-purpose grease here. That's just some STP, and we'll grease that so that everything stays nice and smooth. All right, the next step is to move on to the right side, which contains the spring retention bracket. And this system is built up a little bit different than the left side in that we're going to go ahead and use this bracket against the bike. Then we're going to set up our foot here, our footrest here, and then we're going to put the spring retention bracket here on the side of the bike. Another thing to note is that the next thing you want to do is actually go ahead and put this center stand right into the hole on this side. Go ahead and put that little knob right into the center stand, and that's going to make installation a lot easier for you. So we're going to go ahead and mount this up. Again, we're going to use the shouldered bolts, 13mm bolts this time, and I screwed up on this and didn't put this together right, but on the other side, but this is correct. So it's the bolt, lock washer, and then flat washer. When you install them, make sure to put your thread locker blue on here, and then you just go ahead and bolt it up the way that I showed you right here into your foot brackets. Again, you're going to want to make sure to grease this opening here to make sure that everything moves nice and easy for you. Now that we've got our torque wrench on, we're going to go ahead and confirm 17 foot-pounds of torque. And the next step is to just go ahead and install the spring. The spring will install here on this point and here on this point, and this will be one of the more tricky steps in the build. When installing the retention spring here that allows the center stand to stay up, I found a fairly easy and inexpensive way to perform this task. I know that Twisted Throttle has a special tool, but I used just this little hook I picked up at the local auto parts store and raised this center stand right here all the way up because that's the shortest throw here, and then just went ahead and hooked onto the little loop here, and with a little bit of effort and a few curse words, I was able to get that hooked on there nice. And here you go. We have a nice, effective SW MOTECH center stand on a 2008 KLR 650. So now that we've got the SW MOTECH center stand in place, you can see it is fully effective and working. A couple things to note is this bottom little foot plate, which you're supposed to stand on in order to get it on the rear stand, comes up right behind the rear foot peg. And it can be just a little bit challenging to actually utilize the center stand. But overall, a very nice tool. I think any KLR owner should add this to make it easy to maintain their bikes. Quick review on tools and materials in the kit. We've got the main bracket, which we find here. We've got 4 bolts, 2 shouldered bolts, 2 unshouldered bolts. The shouldered bolts go on the right side to allow extra room for the spring bracket. And the unshouldered bolts, or the standard thread all the way down to the head, goes on the left side as we don't have the spring bracket in place. We've got 4 flat washers and 4 lock washers. Lock washers go on first, then the flat washers. Then you install them, 2 on each side of the bike. And then from there, we have the 2 brackets, which are universal, either left or right. It doesn't matter, you just get 2 brackets. And then we have our spring. Installation really was a breeze. Had I not been taking a video, would have probably taken me 15 minutes to install this. And I think it's the best 15 minutes that you could spend on any bike. So I highly recommend it. Very easy to install, very easy to utilize. The only thing that I would say about this SW MOTECH center stand is it's a little bit difficult to actually utilize it using that peg there if you have your second passenger pegs out.